There we go. Okay, so as I mentioned, this course is called New to Remax or Newly Licensed, and officially the course title is called Take Flight. If you have ever poked around in Remax University, this may look familiar. Remax University offers a paid version of this class called Take Flight, and I believe it's about $50 to take it. It is extremely comprehensive, full of different resources and tools and scripts and all sorts of dialogues that you can see play out in the form of kind of some role play. So we thought, why not just bring it here? I took the class myself, recreated it, took the goodness from that class, and have really kind of condensed it down into more of the way that we would normally teach it. So if you're interested in taking the paid one as an extension of this one, feel free. It's well worth your time. But I will say all the resources, I have downloaded them. So if there's something specific that you would like more information on, let me know and I will be happy to look and see if any of the resources apply to that. So let's go ahead and dive in. Again, this class assumes that you are new to the Remax world and or newly licensed. So we're going to go through several sections this morning about being prepared so that you can build a very profitable, very sustainable business. We'll talk about some essential skills that you're going to need in order to be successful in this industry. We'll talk about preparation and some strategy, some mission statements. And before you go, believe me, it is critical. I'm actually in the middle of doing this very thing with one of our agents in the Mid-County office. And the reason why we cover mission statements and the reason why we coach you to create your own is because you get enormous clarity from that. And when you have clarity, it is that much easier to move forward in the right direction to accomplish whatever it is that you want to accomplish. So section 1 is really just going to lay the framework down for you guys. And you probably are well aware at this point, both of you have been doing this a little while in various capacities, but buying or selling a home is an emotional experience, even under the best circumstances. So it's going to be up to you, the agent, to help these buyers and to help these sellers through one of the biggest financial transactions that they'll complete in their lifetime. And so the other truth of that is because it's emotional, they're going to struggle with conflicting thoughts and feelings throughout the process. And that means that they're going to rely on you and your negotiation skills, your marketing knowledge, your attention to detail, and things like your connections and your network to help them get through it. So when we think about that, and when we think about it being emotional, even under really good terms, we have to consider that there are key components to being a successful real estate agent. So let's break those down and see what those components could actually be. The first one is an obvious one, but it's not so common in our industry, or at least that's what I'm told sometimes. It's trustworthiness. And believe this or not, but trust is earned through actions. It's not enough to tell somebody that you can do this or that you're capable. You have to be able to demonstrate it or point back to previous times where you have demonstrated it. You have to know your stuff inside and out. You have to honor your word. We say, do what you say you will do. And then be somebody who others can depend on. All of that is really kind of sandwiched together to make up what we consider to be someone who is trustworthy. Now, is honesty the same thing? I would say they're in the same family. Honesty is telling the truth about something that's happened in the past. And integrity is delivering on something that you say that you're going to do. Practicing both of these at the same time makes up someone who is considered trustworthy. And also, just so you know, you guys, feel free to stop me at any point if you disagree, if you have a comment, if you have a question. I'm never offended, so feel free to jump in if you see that you need to. What are some things that we can do to be seen as more trustworthy? Or if we're brand new, how can we we be perceived as trustworthy? The first one is to align yourself with a trustworthy company, a trustworthy brand, and showcase. This is huge, and I think this is overlooked sometimes. Showcase the support that you have from your real estate network. This is enormous, especially for us, because we have a lot of agents and we have a lot of signs on the ground. So there's already that familiarity in the eyes of the public. That helps. That helps more than what we think and what we give credit to, I feel. And so the other part of that is show the support, explain the support, let them in to the network that you have, that you are completely a part of in your RE/MAX office and in the RE/MAX One brokerage. We have the most productive agents in each of the markets that we are in. So why not capitalize on that? Second thing, always say what you will do and do what you will say, and then collect some feedback along the way that you can use to convey that to other people. Third thing is understand the communities, know the product, know the market, right? It's not enough just to know the house. You've got to know a little bit about the community too. It's important to say this because you want to be able to demonstrate your area knowledge, because this will help boost the credibility that you have. Move this over here really quick. I will say this, when it comes to your area knowledge, it's not a bad idea to put some of this out, like on your website or in your marketing materials, whatever that looks like. And whatever community that you're a part of is huge. You're already there, you live there, you know the ins and outs of it, you know the little quirks that it has throughout the course of the year. So why not share that knowledge that you have so that it can be beneficial to other people? All right. Speaking of demonstrating your market expertise, you guys know that the average sales price for different types and different sizes of homes, they vary. And so it's important that we have a pulse on that at any given point. The MLS is a phenomenal resource to touch base with daily. I would encourage you to make that a part of your daily routine. Make sure that you know what's new on the market, what has changed, has anything expired, has there been any type of a price change. You need to know that. You need to understand the difference and the different price ranges as it relates to neighborhoods and different types of houses or different types of property. A condo is completely different from a townhouse, and a townhouse is completely different from a single family. Single family, totally different from farm and ranch. You need to know those things, and you need to know what the price ranges are for each of those different types of properties. Understand where the schools are. That's huge. That's a big driving reason why many people purchase in the communities that they're a part of. Most of them have school-aged children, and schools are important to them. You need to know, are there more than just public schools? Don't overlook the private schools, the charter schools, the magnets, the homeschool co-ops. Know about those so that you can be a credible resource and who can speak intelligently about the different things in the educational part of the community. It's also not a bad idea in our area to be very familiar with rental availability and what the average rent price is in a particular market area. This is huge because we have natural disasters where sometimes people are out of their homes due to damages, and we have a lot of industry here. So people are coming in and out of here all the time, and they may not want to always just jump off and buy something. Know what the rental market looks like. That is a huge resource and huge benefit to the people who live in our area. Some other ideas. Know who your top competitors are. We don't like to think about this, but we need to know who they are at least, and we need to be able to understand, at least in part, what their business models are so that we can better capitalize on how we are not better, but unique. We are not typical. We do things differently, and that's what helps differentiate us. We need to know what their strengths are. We need to know where their weaknesses are so that we can come in and meet that need where they are not able to. We need to be familiar with who are the new home construction builders, who are the developers, form relationships with them, get an understanding of what's coming up. It's not a bad idea either to get friendly with the people at the city. Know who's in planning, know who's in zoning. They are wonderful little fountains of information on things that are coming up in the next year, in the next 6 months. You want to know about hospitals, more think about like the infrastructure, right, of where the city is and what's available to people who live there. This one is a no-brainer, and I'm sure you guys get asked about this all the time. Property tax ranges, we need to know that. And then, of course, current listings. It's not too difficult these days because there's not a ton of them, but these all add up to making one heck of a case for your own market knowledge. It's not just limited to what's available and what's listed. It's the big picture. It's the full picture of those communities. Little tip, practice those conversation skills, right? Practice them and know the information very well, or at least sound like you know it very well. Because here's the deal. While it is not always enough to say it, it's more important to demonstrate it. You have to feel confident in the things that you do know. A person's confidence or their perceived level of what your confidence is one of the major things that help people move forward in selecting a real estate person to represent them. If they feel that you're timid or they feel like you're unsure, they will not move forward. Again, you have to put yourself in their shoes and understand that this is a very large financial transaction. So they need somebody who knows what they're talking about, whether it's about that particular transaction all by itself or about the community, the market, and everything that's a part of that market. Do you have any questions so far? Cool. Okay, let's keep looking at some of that. So trustworthiness is huge. The next one is listening skills. I feel like this one probably should have been first. Listening skills are everything. Consumers want to know that not only are you listening to them, but that you are actively listening to them. And a really good habit to get into is asking questions. This is not natural. It takes a lot of effort and a lot of practice. But anytime you're asked a question, answer that question and then follow it back up with 3 questions of your own. Again, not natural, very, very uncomfortable at first, but I'm telling you, if you can learn to incorporate this into your routine, not only are you going to have a much more thorough conversation, but you're going to have such a better understanding of where they are, what their needs are, and how you can best help them. These are some open-ended questions that work well. What are you looking for? Why are you moving? What's your time frame? What's your budget? These are all good open-ended questions that you can continue to kind of keep in your toolbox to keep that conversation moving forward. I would even encourage you to sort of develop your own system of interview questions that you keep kind of in your back pocket that you use with each person who's a buyer or each person who's a seller so that you can get on the front end of that conversation all the details that'll help you moving forward if you're able to convert them into a buyer or a seller. Okay. Consumers also want to know that you are going to be there for them. You guys have probably seen this just from agent to agent communications and how frustrating that can be not to get a call back or not to be available when you call or all of the above. Your consumers, meaning your buyers, your sellers, your investors, your renters, all of that, they want to know that you're going to respond to their calls, their questions, their requests in a timely manner. And so it is critical that we learn to set those expectations from the beginning. Ask your buyers and sellers how they want to be communicated with. Never assume anything, right? Some people are texters. Some people they prefer email. Some people prefer phone calls. Whatever that looks like, ask the question so that you're not a hamster running on a wheel a million miles an hour and never getting anywhere. That's frustrating. Avoid that by asking the question at the beginning of the conversation that allows you to know how they're going to best respond to you. If you're curious on what that looks like, I would highly encourage you to attend our class called the Communication Plan. We go over this in detail, and it's wonderful because not only will you understand how they like to be communicated with, but it also gives you the opportunity to communicate with them and sort of create these boundaries of when you're available and when you're not. so that your phone's not ringing at 11 o'clock at night. Okay, we talked about this a tiny bit. It's important to be accessible. Let your clients know when you're going to be available. For example, some agents prefer not to receive calls after 10 p.m. And frankly, why would you want to call after 10 p.m. if you could help it? Others prefer an uninterrupted window with their family time over dinner from 5 to 8 or whatever that looks like. Communicate that. 99.9% of people are going to be okay with that. What they're not going to be okay with is trying to call you and they can't reach you and they have no idea where you are. Again, be accessible and communicate what that window looks like when you're available and when you're not. It will save them a lot of frustration and it will save you a lot of frustration. Some other attributes, characteristics, qualities, components, being helpful and professional. I think one of our key beliefs or one of our values at the company here is adopt an attitude of it's my pleasure, right? The old Chick-fil-A, oh, my pleasure, my pleasure. I'm telling you, if you can internalize that, if you can make that a part of your DNA, you will be surprised how well people respond to the help that you provide them. And you will also be surprised how good you feel about providing that help. You can also provide literature and marketing materials, resources that supports this attitude of helpfulness. Think about like FAQs or how-to guides or something along those same lines, or sending them a little set of we just moved cards that they can then send out to their friends and family, right? Just kind of taking that proactive step to help them or anticipate a need that they might have. You want to be especially helpful in areas where other agents may not have been to them in the past. So this can help differentiate you quite a bit. And remember, it's the little things that we do that tend to generate the most referrals. Now, it's important to note that nowadays consumers have a lot of access to a lot of information. And so it is so much more important for us now that we can sharpen the skills that we have in the negotiation space. We need to have a laser focus attention to detail. We need to know our markets and what's in them. And we need to be able to communicate who our network is and who our connections are so that we can be seen as highly valuable and irreplaceable in this particular space. Okay, this is what we've covered. Skills recap: trustworthy, really good active listener, accessible, but with boundaries if that's your jam, helpful, and professional. It takes all of these things to make an exceptional person in this industry. And I think these are all areas where we can all learn to improve, which is the fun of it, right? Now, let's do a little bit of reflection, a little bit of reflecting time. I want you to know and be able to answer this with perfect clarity. What is your why? Why do you do this? And if you've been in Real Estate Perspectives, our class with me, you know that we hammer this a lot. And I would even argue any of the other classes, right? We talk about this because here's the deal. When the going gets tough, if you don't know why you're doing this, it is that much easier to quit. We don't want you to quit. You have to be willing to endure, but you have to know what you're enduring for, right? So another question to make sure that you ask yourself is, do you want to work to live? Or do you want to live to work? What is the answer to that? We don't want you to be consumed by this business. Your business should not be your life. Your life should be your life. So how do we use the business as a vehicle to fund the different areas of our life that we want to be able to improve or build upon? That's the name of the game. For some, that's a hard question, and I don't expect a big answer. It takes a lot of digging and soul searching and really kind of examining your life and saying, okay, what would I feel better about? Is it, I have a credit card that's been lingering over my head for 20 years. I want to get rid of it. Okay, how much is that credit card? $30,000. Great. There it is. Now you know what you're working toward. Okay, it has to be meaningful to you. It has to be meaningful to you so that when things get a little bit crazy, you remember what's important and why you're doing it. I love this. I have to remind myself of this all the time, all the time. And I'll be totally transparent with you guys. That's not a question that's easy for me to answer either in my own personal life. I talk about this every day, but when it gets down to it, I'm like, it takes a while. It really does. And these things tend to change throughout the year. That's okay, as long as you know what it is that you're working for. Okay, here's a big one. I think all of us have been in this little test since 2020 began. Stay positive. It's so important to be balanced and feel that sense of balance. So it's very important too to recognize the different areas of our life where we can be positive and also apply some good positive goals. So think about, most of us go to career first, right? That's where we default to. But think about the spiritual side of you. What's a goal that you have for the spiritual part of you? You know, is it that you want to adopt a new mindset? Is it that you want to let go of some things that have been burdening you? What about your health? I feel like everybody puts this on the back burner, myself included. How can you improve that? What's a positive goal that you could put there? What about your family, your social life, the relationships that you have outside of the business? And what about the things that you enjoy, the things that you like to do, the recreation? I'll tell you, there's science to support this. Write your goals down. Write them down on paper or in a journal, on a sticky note, on the mirror in lipstick. I don't care. Just write them down. When you write them down, you acknowledge that you expect to achieve them and that you are committed to them. Put them in a place where they stare at you all day, every day. Put them on your computer screen, put them in your car, wherever you spend a lot of time, so that you're constantly reminded that these are the things that you said are important to you. All right, let's talk about expectations. Expectations can change the mindset. They do, good or bad. If you expect something and you're committed to it, and you're also committed to doing whatever it is it takes to achieve it, you immediately focus on how to achieve it. That's powerful. That is super powerful. Otherwise, if you didn't have these expectations, your goals could really just kind of be in that risky situation where they can be replaced by less meaningful things or by competing ideas or even distractions, right? We don't want that. We don't want that. Hope goes to expectation every time, and expectation is where it's at. That's section 1. We talked about skills, preparation, essentials. Let's switch gears and go into section 2, where we're going to kind of dive into a little bit of strategy. Okay. Now, your business strategy should begin with a clear idea of the types of clients that you would like to help the most, as well as kind of that bigger picture perspective about what you're trying to achieve with your business. There's that why again. What is it that you want to be able to fund as a result of seeing success in your business? And here's the other little side note. Your version of success is not going to be the same as the person next to you. That is perfectly okay. We all have different things that we're working toward, and that's the way it's supposed to be. Okay? So your version of success is perfectly fine if it's not my version of success. Okay? Now, I touched on this briefly, but let's talk a little bit about a mission statement. Creating a mission statement for your real estate business is critical. But here's the other challenge. I would also encourage you to create a mission statement for your life. I know that's very big. I know that's very theoretical, right? Big question, deserves a big answer. If you can create a meaningful life vision for yourself, look ahead. What do you want out of life? That's where it starts. If you can do that, you will have enormous clarity. And when you have clarity, it's that much easier to say, okay, now how can my business make that happen? And what do I need to do in my business to make it happen? Okay, do you guys see how those are all kind of connected together on one long string? Yeah. Now, if you construct with ample thought your mission statement, this is essentially your way of communicating what your business purpose is to the buyers, to the sellers that you have all around you. It's also going to kind of serve as a compass. It'll serve as what I would like to call your North Star to keep you on track of making the type of strategic decisions that are necessary about the direction that you'll want to be going in to make those goals happen this year, next year, 5 years from now. And yes, you are the CEO of your business. You don't have a job. You don't work for me. You don't work for Charlie. You're it. You are the end all be all when it comes to your business. It's important to remember that. Your mission statement, it should not be a page long, okay? It needs to be a few sentences long at best, and it needs to be written with who you would most like to help in mind. So here's a few questions to kind of help answer if you're trying to create one. What does your business do? Right? What's the reason for your business to be here at all? Who benefits from your services? What are you trying to achieve on behalf of your clients? And who do you serve best? That's a good place to start when you're thinking about your mission statement. Here's a few examples. My mission is to help sellers. Okay, so here's somebody who only cares about listings. My mission is to help sellers in South Chicago sell at the highest possible price in the least amount of time. Simple. Here's another one. I cater to high-tech clients, providing them the kind of service that they expect from a modern real estate sales associate. The one at the top, my business purpose is to help clients from all cultures and languages to have successful real estate transactions in the Denver area. I'm not going to read them all. You guys are fully capable of that, but these are just some examples to get you thinking about what your own mission statement could be for you and your business. It needs to be able to reflect the value that you bring to your customer, and then can also be driven by how you satisfy their needs. If you need help with the mission statement, let me know. I'm doing this for an agent I mentioned in our Mid-County office. It has been so much fun to do that with her. And she was like, you know what? I have not felt excited like this in a long time. She's like, I finally feel like I am on the road to where I've been trying to go for months. So if you are somebody who kind of shrugs off the idea of a mission statement, I would encourage you and challenge you to give it a shot. We can work together to come up with one of your own. All right. Now, success in real estate is very demanding sometimes, and it demands many things. It demands commitment to hard work. This is a big reason why we don't have people doing this part-time in our company. It's all in, baby. All chips on the table in front of you. No plan B, okay? If there's a plan B, you'll take it every time. True? True. We take the path of least resistance more times than we don't. The second thing to consider, you need to have some working capital. A, because you don't need the added burden of feeling financial stress and pressure as you're trying to build a business. But B, because you may not have something close in the timeline that you would think it could. Not because of your efforts or whatever, but we don't have a ton of control all the time on that. We can control our own effort in being proactive, but that doesn't always guarantee a sale in the time that we think it will. You need to have some working capital there. And last but not least, you need to have a will to learn and grow. Huge. This is what we call learning-based or mastery-based. This is somebody who's committed and is learning-based. These are the types of characteristics that we look for when we try to grow our company. We're not a come one, come all. We look for very specific characteristics, and these are most of them. Plus or minus the working capital. That doesn't really come out in those conversations, but the other ones absolutely do. Okay, let's talk about failure. Nobody likes to talk about it, but there are lessons to be learned. The biggest reasons that people fail in real estate are a lack of prospects. This is why one of the first things that we coach you to do is to build out your database. You have to know who you are in network with, from past colleagues to friends to family to everybody in those natural circles that you're already a part of. Lack of prospects will kill it. If you don't have a database, you don't have a business. But the good news is we can continue to grow that database every single day. The other thing that leads to failure is unrealistic expectations on what it will take in terms of the time and effort in order to start gaining that traction in the business. Remember, we talked a little bit about willingness to endure. This is part of that. It's not overnight. Anything great is never an overnight success. It takes time and consistency to really start gaining that momentum that we crave. And then, of course, a lack of working capital. It's very difficult. I'm not saying it's impossible to build a business with no funds, but it makes it a little bit harder, because then you're limited, or you feel limited when it comes to marketing yourself, or being able to participate in groups and organizations that the city provides, and things along those same lines. Now, it's important to take a look at it, whether you feel like you have or haven't. This is some really solid advice. And I think this would be true almost for any entrepreneur, right? When you're starting something, I think that it's important to understand where you are financially so that you can allocate and feel good about it. Entering the industry without calculating what the adequate financial resources would be can lead to surprises, first and foremost, but also to potential failure as a result of feeling totally overwhelmed, like you don't have enough to do what you really want to do. It's not always just about having enough cash on hand to get you to your first commission. It's important to have a very well thought out plan with realistic budget numbers that can help to estimate some of those expenses that you may see, and then anything that could be unforeseen. So if you're interested, some of the resources that come from this course are the personal expense planner and the business expense planner. This helps you to identify some of the more common expenses that real estate agents see or could expect to encounter on a monthly basis. If you guys are interested in those, let me know, and I'm happy to email them over your way, just so that you have them to look back on if you ever need to. Now, let's talk a little bit about this. This is the economic model. If you guys have done any consulting with me in any formal capacity, you will recognize this, and this is so very important. And we touched on this a tiny bit. The economic model for us, all that is a really fancy, really pretty way of saying, this is what I have to make in my real estate business for me to feel like I've succeeded, for me to fund whatever area of my life that I've set out to fund. Okay. So if you've done any consulting with me, then you know that I ask those questions like, what area of your life do you want to fund? What is it? Do you have an income goal in mind? If you heard me ask that, this is what we're talking about. It's really no more than a target to aim for. So you know, okay, here's what my number is, my financial requirement. How many transactions does that take for me to make that happen? Again, clarity. So the expenses play a role, because what we start with is, okay, here's my income goal, right? Here's the number that I want to be able to fund. Here's the debt number that I want to be able to pay off. In my case, here's the vacation that I want to take my family on. Great. We combine that with your annual expenses. Okay. So we add that income goal, financial requirement. We combine that, we add that to your annual expenses. Those two numbers combined tell us the revenue that you're going to need to generate. Okay. From there, we take into account the average sales price of the area. For us, I think it's like 180, 179, 180. It might be slightly higher for the Southeast Texas MLS. And then we take into account also your average commission rate. That's a percentage. All of that combined tells us this is how many transactions it's going to take for you to get to where you need to be to meet that financial requirement that you set for yourself. Okay, very helpful. Now, in saying that, that is just the beginning. That is where it starts. And it's important to remind yourself, as if you didn't already figure this out, real estate's a contact sport. It is a contact sport. So the more people that you engage with, the more likely that you are going to see not only success, but sustainable success. Making contacts and making appointments and agreements and negotiations and closings are at the heart of this business. And I'll tell you, a lot of times I hear from agents that's so overwhelming. I have a database of over 200, 300, 400 people. How can I manage that? The way you can manage that is to aim to have one appointment on the books at all times with a buyer or potential buyer and an appointment on the books at all times with a potential or a real seller. Simplification is your friend. I also will tell you, even from my own personal experience, when you have a list that is big, over 100, 200, 300, 400 people, sort them into A's, B's, and C's, okay? We have a class called Build Your Database, or I think it's like it's in our back agent or property-based database. It's all about how to sort the people that you are in connection and network with so that you can invest the most time with the people who are your advocates, the ones who know you, love you, trust you, would never do business with anyone but you, and they're the ones who continuously refer you to their friends, their family, their colleagues. So for those people, they are the ones that deserve the most time and attention, and then the ones beneath that also require attention. But the point in all of this is to say, okay, if you have this many people, how many attempts do you need to make every day that you choose to work in your business? For me, I have a system. I like to contact 5 people, 5 new people that I've never connected with every day, Monday through Friday. And I also like to follow up with 5 people that I have met, that I have talked to in the past. That tends to work for me, where I can have an appointment at any given time on my calendar. It also helps me stay in regular contact with people who are important to me. So your system is going to be your system. I'm just telling you what has been working for me by following the same methodology. Okay, we've covered this about how we arrive at the number of transactions that it's going to take. We look at your expenses, we look at your income goal, we combine that, then we divide that by the average sales price, and we divide that by your average commission rate, and it tells us this many transactions are needed in order to generate this amount of income. Pretty cool stuff. Okay, we covered that. Okay, number of contacts. Everybody's number of contacts is going to be completely different, and that is okay. Your success in this industry, in this particular industry, it depends on knowing what you need to do, but more importantly, how consistent you are at doing it. Consistency wins every time. Every time. You guys have probably heard that slow and steady wins the race. Yes. I don't care how fast you go. If you stop, I will still lap you, right? I'm going to keep going. That turtle is still going to keep going. So there are some basic ideas to talk about whenever you look at strategy to do this. Rule number 1 is you have to proactively tell people what you do. Again, it's not okay to just assume that everybody that you know knows what you do for a living. We think they know because we post on our Facebook and whatever else, but you know as well as I do that you don't see but maybe 30, 40 of your actual people on your Facebook feed out of the 1,000 plus that you probably have as friends, right? We can't assume that everybody knows what we do. We can't even assume that the first person knows what we do. It's up to us to tell them, okay? And of course, as I mentioned, you have to be consistent with this. A good way to do this is with monthly mailers, okay? If you're interested in learning that system, that is our farming and marketing class. Or you could take the 33 Touch program class. We call that referral marketing. Check those out. There's some good systems in there. And let me share with you guys some stats just to kind of drive my point home a little bit further. For new agents, okay, data shows that for every 160 interactions, yep, you read that right, 160, they achieve 1 sale. 1. If you say, okay, 5 minutes per interaction, and this can take the place of a call. This could be a call, an email, a text conversation, a Zoom meeting, a face-to-face meeting, hanging out in the grocery store, having a conversation. That's considered an interaction, okay? At 5 minutes per interaction, that's about 32 hours of true lead generating activity, which means that for an agent who's just starting out, they have the potential to generate 4 viable leads per month if they're working consistently, okay? Now, of course, those conversion rates are going to vary, okay, depending on the market size, the agent's skill set, and the quality of those interactions. So keep that in mind when you're making your attempts. You know, I hear in accountability sometimes, well, I'm going to call 3 people this week. Why would you not do 3 people each day? Or depending on the size of your network, why would you not aim for 5? Because here's the deal. Say that you attempt to contact 5 people, maybe 3 answer. And of those that answer, maybe you have 1 who's willing to sit and meet with you, right? So kind of stretch what you think is possible and then go for it and see what works for you and how you can systemize that. Okay, a little side note about commitment as well. We touched on this. And you guys know this, some agents, especially brand new ones, they keep their day jobs. More so if they're afraid that they'll fail when they get into this industry. And the simple truth is, and I've said this like 3 times over the last week, you can't serve 2 masters. Can you imagine telling your current employer, if you have a full-time job, that you can't come in today because you have a listing appointment? Having 2 jobs or 2 masters is a guarantee that you will fail in this business. We have to be able to be available. We have to be able to commit. We have to be able to go all in on a business that we are building for ourselves. Okay, so that was section 2. Now we're going to talk about section 3, which is marketing. This is the fun part, I think, for most of us, but also the terrifying part, because we don't like to talk about ourselves. We don't like to market ourselves. So take some comfort in what we're going to cover in section 3. Do you guys have any questions on what we've covered today so far? Great. Let's keep going. All right. Now, huge differentiator right here. Marketing a service is not the same as marketing a product. True? Very true. Real estate is a service industry. So that means there are no inventory costs, like where you have a whole bunch of products that are sitting on a shelf that you've paid for, right? It's pretty inexpensive in terms of business building, but it's pretty crowded, right? There's a lot of agents out there. So the other thing to note is that the services that you do offer your clients are intangible, meaning they can't be held, they can't be touched before a decision to work with you is made. So you need to think about ways to make your services as visually tangible as possible. And how do we do this? We do this by showing buyers and sellers the many benefits that come along with working with you, okay? Now, we don't sell property, we sell trust. Not an easy thing to sell, but it's worth noting and worth saying. Surveys tell us, okay, RE/MAX, I'm so grateful because they spend millions of dollars every year analyzing consumers and surveying consumers to know what it is that they want, okay? Surveys tell us that clients do business with an agent because they trust that person. The agent makes them feel comfortable and at ease, especially with the decision-making process. And it's not always the superiority of the service, but the fact that you as the agent can easily and quickly bond with that client and fulfill their needs. You guys have probably heard us say that people do business with those that they know, like, and trust. That is everything. So when you think about marketing, how can you utilize marketing to help people know you better, to help people like you more, to help people trust you? Okay, that's kind of the foundation where everything is built upon. If prospects like you and trust you, they will do business with you. The competent and likable agents attract much more business. And keep in mind, service is about relationships, and relationships are built on trust. And to put it simply, for the most part, service marketing is a giant popularity contest. It is. So how can we build upon this? Because those services are intangible, consumers are going to turn to people they know or personal sources to make a decision about whether to work with you or not. This is why it is so very important to have reviews as much as it is to have positive word of mouth referrals. Don't underestimate the power of those social media reviews as well as your online social media image. How many times do we go to social media first to find out about someone? I do. That is the first place that I go. I'm going to research that person if I've never met them, and then I'm going to keep going, and then I'm going to try to Google them, right? And I want to see that continuity, that cohesiveness, to know that this person is the same on this platform as they are on this platform. And do I want to do business with this person? They're going to make decisions based on your appearance, the kind of clothes you wear. And y'all, I know this sounds so mean, but it is real life. The car you drive, how well you take care of that, the promotional pieces that you use, the way that you speak through your marketing and advertising campaigns, your signage, your office, your website. All of these things combined make a very cohesive image of who you are, or at least who they perceive you to be, which is why each of these things are so very important when it comes to creating a comprehensive marketing plan for you and your business. I sometimes hear from agents, well, I'm not a tech person. Sorry, you guys. Sorry, my phone was ringing. I'm not a tech person, so I don't really need a website. Yes, you do. I don't really care about reviews. I don't want to ask my clients. That's not important. Yes, it is. All of these things matter because the world around us is increasingly becoming more digital. And while, yes, the personal relationship is everything, more times than not, it starts online. It starts online, and they're going to be looking to make sure that you are who you've said that you are to them in the form of what others have said in those reviews and testimonials. Okay, everything, yes, everything that is visually associated with you and your personal brand, what that does, it sends clues to the prospect that you can or cannot get the job done. That is why it's so important for these things to be consistent in the way that they look and feel, because they're projecting the same image, and the image should be one of success and confidence. And remember the old adage, you only have one chance to make a good first impression. But I would argue too, to make that impression over and over and over again, consistently. Keep in mind, great ideas do not have to be revolutionary. It's often the good, solid, simple ideas that produce the best results. Think about the unique things that you can offer to your buyer or to your seller, and then incorporate that into some of the marketing that you do. I was talking with the same agent who I was helping with a mission statement in Mid-County. She is a military brat, self-proclaimed military brat. She moved all over the country as a young child. She has unparalleled knowledge and experience when it comes to relocating. She knows how hard that is. She knows how difficult that is. Because she was in proximity to the military, she has a special connection to veterans. Use that. Use that. Speak that same language to create a point of similarity with someone else. Any kind of ways that you can be, that you can relate to another person that makes you a little bit different from the average Joe, that is what your marketing should center on. Take time to create a marketing phrase that helps consumers identify what they can receive from working with you. In other words, like, I combine technology with service, or I specialize in making sure that first-time homebuyers can actually buy. Something like that. Now, a little tip, it's good to know the type of market that you're hoping to serve, and also try to make that at the center of your marketing efforts. Like, if you really like working with first-time home buyers and you've had a lot of success with that, or maybe you are really good at expired listings or for sell by owners or investors, whatever that looks like, That is what you can incorporate in a subtle way in the visual part of your marketing materials as well, or in the not so subtle way. Very important, share your message to promote your success. It's difficult to build trust with new clients in the tiny bit of time that we spend with them. So we have to be able to adapt a mindset that helps to promote our success continuously. Share your current and your past contacts, or show your current and past contacts, rather, what you've done. If a client gets a great deal, make sure that they know it. Make sure that, man, that is a steal at that price. Make sure the world knows. The same is true if a home sells fast. I'm typically not a great fan of when people are like, sold first day on the market. In the wrong eyes, it's almost like what we do isn't as valuable. So I think just kind of be a little bit careful with that. That's just my personal opinion. But be proud of the accomplishments that you have and that your clients have. And especially when you're doing something that's helping someone achieve their goal and their dream, share that and be consistent in sharing that. People love good news. They want to be able to help celebrate that too. Real estate's competitive, and one reason that we do this is we have to stay top of mind. You can do this by advertising, of course, or if you're doing something in the community that is very notable and worthwhile. If you are really doing your part in a charitable organization and you are loving the results that your charitable organization has been able to accomplish, share that, talk about that. It's not about you, it's about why it's meaningful to you. People will be attracted to that when they see the things that they care about in you that you're doing for others. Okay, other ways to level up some marketing. You need a website. Lucky for you guys, RE/MAX had a huge overhaul in January of this year. So you can build a fully customizable site and update it as regularly as you like. And the leads that are going to be generated from this thing are already increased by like 125% from January to April. So the more personal you can make your site, the better. But you have to tell people about it. So share the link on your social media, put it in your signature, in your email. You need to give people access to that. Level the playing field with your enthusiasm. Enthusiasm beats out ability every single time, every time. And leverage the brand, leverage it, use it. There's a reason why RE/MAX spends millions of dollars a year on that balloon. It's because people know what that balloon is. You don't even have to tell them. How nice is that? Okay, now a brand, keep this in mind, cannot get into the mind of a consumer unless it stands for something specific. This is important because markets can change. Okay, they do change, but a brand, or the essential characteristics of what makes you in your business, has to stay consistent. Be aware that your personal brand is not going to be built overnight. It's just not. But you can certainly build it over time, one step at a time, and eventually your brand is going to be one that stands out above the rest because everybody else is just jumping at every new thing and every new this and every shiny key. There's no continuity, and the consumer gets very confused. When they're confused, they lose confidence, and when they lose confidence, they're not working with you. Period. So what are some of the marketing tools and technology that you have available to you today that you can use to help incorporate some of this? The first one is Design Center. There is automated marketing materials that are generated for you in there. You can create postcards and flyers and social shareables. Photify. Photify is an app, $4 a month, worth every penny. Beautiful branded templates that you can just post. You don't even have to change them if you don't want to. But if you wanted, you could put your photo and make it your own. Megaphone. Megaphone, think of it as sort of like the Facebook ad manager. You can say, here's my goal. I want to market to buyers in my area. You set the budget, boom, it goes everywhere across the internet. We talked about the website. in Booge is where that can be built. You also have the ability to have your consumers download the RE/MAX app, but branded to you specifically for free. Booge, of course, that's where your CRM lives, where you can do some campaigns, some email newsletters, as well as your website. Social media profiles. There are so many fun RE/MAX groups like RE/MAX Creative, RE/MAX Tech and Tools. Look those up on Facebook. There's plenty of content that is super cute that you can share on your own social media networks. And of course, the big tip here, success in marketing comes from two things: consistency, there's that word again, and authenticity. Do you have any questions on that? Okay. The last part of this is to recommend some of our companion classes, some of which I've mentioned already. These are the classes that are offered every single month. That's on purpose. Again, it's all about mastering the fundamentals, okay? These are our prospecting type of courses, generating some leads, right? And keep in mind, all of these classes that you see here, these are systems that are designed for you to pick up and place into your business and go. You don't have to do it. That's the cool part. We've got them for expired listings, for sell by owners, farming and marketing, which I mentioned, and then open houses. The next courses are about converting those leads. So buyer conversion, listing conversion. There's that referral marketing course that I was telling you about. And then this one is one of the very best, in my opinion, preventing and overcoming those objections. So if a seller has a different price in mind, how do you respond to that? If a seller wants you to reduce your commission, how do you respond to that? If a seller is concerned that you don't have as many years of experience as they would like, how do you respond to that? That's what's in that class. Some other ones, the communication plan, which I mentioned, and the pricing series. The pricing series is critical. If you attend nothing else, make sure you're in that one because it is data driven and it's also collaborative, and sellers respond very well to that. Some business courses that we offer, Real Estate Perspectives. I love that one. I teach that one on Monday on the first full week of every month to get us kicked off in the right mindset. Quarterly, I sometimes teach the Leverage Summit and Master Team Builder for people who are curious about becoming team leaders. And then activities management for buyers, and then activities management for sellers. That's a really good one. It's essentially a checklist that helps you work through what you need to be doing to stay vital when working with buyers and sellers. We are so excited you're here. I know we tell you all that all the time. Dana, you've been with us a while. Lindsay, you've been with us a little while now, but again, we welcome you into our family here at RE/MAX One. If you're curious about plugging into those classes that I mentioned a second ago, you get an email from me every Sunday with the calendar, and you can also log into Property Base, which is formerly known as Back Agent, to see the month that's built out for you as ways that you can plug into what we offer to help you continue to build your business. Any questions?
Okay. I don't think so. That was good. That was informative.
Yes, it was very good. Thank you, Kristen. Appreciate all your time.
My pleasure, and it's good to see you guys. If you think of anything, if you need anything, please don't hesitate to reach out. And hope you'll have a great Halloween weekend.
You too.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Bye.
See ya.